नमस्ते, म चाहिँ जिराज मिश्र, co-founder of HPC Nepal. So welcome to Digital Talk, initiated by Nepal Internet Foundation. So basically it is a co-association with Nepal Digital Foundation, and basically we are working for the 888 initiative. So today we are going to host on the session of cybersecurity. Our guest is Barsha Karki, who has came from Australia recently, only yesterday. So she will be talking more about the cybersecurity context. So what is going on? What are the adaptation of cybersecurity? How to implement cybersecurity in the career point of view? What are the leadership challenges that occurs on the cybersecurity path? So those are the topics we will be going to talk on today's session. So welcome Barsha ji. So namaste.
Thank you for having me.
So अहिले चाहिँ हजुर के गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ? So हजुरको चाहिँ अहिले एज अ एपिजे सोल्युसन इन्जिनियरिङ हजुर काम गरिराख्नु भएको छ Zscalerबाट. सो कस्तो छ काम, कस्तो भइरहेछ र कसरी चाहिँ हजुरले अस्ट्रेलियामा चाहिँ एज अ काम गरिराख्नु भएको छ? त्यही भएर सुरु गरौँ.
Thank you very much, Mayan. Thank you for hosting me today. I really appreciate the opportunity. It's actually a very proud moment for me to be traveling and then be in your studio doing this in person. So thank you. I really appreciate that. मेरो अलिकति इन्ट्रोडक्सन वर्षा कार्की, म नेपालमा जन्मै हुर्केँ होइन. यहाँबाट फुटचोक इन्जिनियरिङबाट ब्याचलर्स गरेपछि म अस्ट्रेलिया गएँ. अहिलेको मेरो रोल Zscalerमा चाहिँ एसिया पेसिफिक जापानमा म प्रिसेल्स इन्जिनियरिङ म्यानेजमेन्ट रोल हो मेरो होइन. I have 7 people in my team. 2 engineers are in Australia, 2 in Japan, 2 in Singapore, and 1 in India. So in fact, I was in India meeting customers last week, and I thought, it's only a couple of hours flight, why not? I'll come visit my family and do this as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, Zscaler has been around. It is building a cloud native security for our customers. We've been around since 2007. It's NASDAQ listed. We're headquarters in San Jose. I've been in Zscaler for a bit over 1.5 years. This is my first management and leadership role as well. So that is a little bit about me.
Hey, okay. So can you explain that? What are your career journeys? So from where did you start?
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much for the question. So I finished my studies here. Went to Australia to do my master's. So I completed Master of Engineering Studies in Engineering Management.
यहाँबाट चाहिँ कहाँबाट पढ्नुभयो?
यहाँबाट मैले पुल्चोक क्याम्पसबाट हजुर 2005 मा कम्प्लिट गरेँ. 2006 चाहिँ म अस्ट्रेलियामा बसिरहेको छु. 2006 मा मास्टर्स सुरु गरेँ मैले. अनि अब पिआरसिआर अप्लाई गर्दा टाइम लाग्यो. 2010 मा चाहिँ मेरो फर्स्ट ग्रेजुएट रोल भयो. त्यति बेला मैले मेरो फर्स्ट रोल चाहिँ Alcatel Lucentमा ग्रेजुएट रोल 4 डिफ्रेन्ट रोटेसन 6 months each होइन. मैले सिस्कोको सिसिएनए पनि गरेको थिएँ. एउटा स्कलरसिप पाएको थिएँ मैले मेरो युनिभर्सिटीको लास्ट इयरमा नेपालमै. अनि त्यो भएपछि चाहिँ 4 वर्ष ब्याचलर्स गर्नुजेलसम्म इलेक्ट्रोनिक्स इन्जिनियरिङ गरेजेलसम्म I wasn't sure what my career was going to look like. But then when I did the CCNA course, I was like, I'm really interested in this.
Oh, yeah.
And as an international student, I completed my master's there, and I was applying for my residency. When you apply for your roles, a lot of the organizations were wanting people with either citizenship or residency. And so the opportunities were very limited. So when I applied to Alcatel was one company where they were happy to accept applications if you were in the process of residency. So I applied, I got the job, very fortunate. It was a tough competition. I think it was so many people applied, and across 2 days, there were 80 people on site, and only 2 were selected. I was one of them from that year. Very lucky,
So this back in which year?
This is 2000. So I was interviewing in 2009 to start in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was there for 3.5 years, as an IP network engineer, which was just what I was passionate about. And त्यो भइसकेपछि 3.5 वर्षपछि होइन मेरो so Alcatel doesn't exist anymore. It was bought by Nokia. Nokia पनि हामीले सुनिराखेकै नाम हो होइन. My role was made redundant because they were shrinking, they were, like downsizing. And so I was heartbroken, right? Like Nepalबाट गयो, त्यहाँ settle भयो, first job, हुन्छ नि home away from home, and I lost my job. And then luckily, a recruiter reached out to me. And one is a pre-sales roles, come talk to us. And sales. I don't like sales. I'm an engineer, but we want to work on projects. Like, why do I have to talk to salespeople? Like, salespeople sell things and they go on coffee and lunches and dinners and they sell things and we can't deliver, as a delivery like this. But then very quickly I realized, okay, well, here's an opportunity. I'll apply for it. And I hadn't heard of that role. I said, I'll give it a go. And I thought I'll give it a year. If I don't like it, I can always be a project engineer. But it was, a blessing in disguise. Like, even though I hated sales at the time, I think I got to a position where I appreciated when somebody worked hard. And good salespeople work really hard because that's the revenue generation bit of any organization. Any organization, right? The organization you work for, me, in a restaurant, everybody is selling. They're either selling products or services. If they don't sell, they don't make money. Not-for-profit organizations are different. They're giving back. But all organizations exist to sell. And so you need good sellers. Only when there are good sellers is when you have projects team delivering the project. So I quickly got that appreciation, and I was very lucky to work with some really amazing salespeople.
So it was your challenge. So just you want to challenge in the new field?
Absolutely. It was a completely different field. I mean, it was still in technology, but the skills that I needed to work on very quickly was I was put in front of a customer and I needed to ask them questions around, what do you have? What is your problem? As engineers, we already know the problem. We know what we're going to deliver. The problem is already defined. It's the solution that we're implementing. Whereas pre-sales is like, I got to find problem and I got to show them how I can help them overcome or, get rid of that pain. And so many interesting things. It's communication. It's being able to take them on a journey. Like, if you have this today, imagine how you're going to be in the next 3 months or 4 months or 6 months or a year. But also knowing about our competition, right? Like, they could be talking to other competitors. So I need to understand how am I better than my competitor? Because if they go, oh, you don't do this and they do this, I need to be prepared. Why? Does it matter? Does that particular differentiation even matter in the conversation? If it does, how do I back myself? Or maybe even, I think there's beauty in a skill where you say, sorry, I can't help you right now. And, and it's a really good skill because people appreciate that. And then you leave that relationship in a really nice note. And so in 2 years' time, that person, that customer could show up in other organizations. They're like, hey, I remember this person.
Okay.
And she wasn't trying to sell to me. She was trying to help. And you know what she said? She said, I couldn't help you at the time. And then they will come and talk to you, right? So I think selling is very different. And, लुगासुगा किन जाने कसले आएर तपाईलाई के चाहियो यो चाहियो भन्नु नि I'm not interested. तर कोही आएर how are you today? Are you looking for anything specific? Can I help? No? Okay, I'll go away. तर तपाईले अब यो देख्नुहुन्छ, can you help? Come help me. Or चाहिँ आज तपाईको दिन कस्तो भयो? Nothing to do with selling. It's relationship, right? So I think
it's more about the soft skill, how you deal with other people, right?
Sexual skill, right? Like we say hard skill and soft skill. I think we need to change that, literature a little bit. It's not soft skill. I think it's people skill. It's very essential. Kineki technology, I find a lot of people goes too much technical too quickly. There's, 3-liter actual TLAs, right? You throw words and you think everybody understands, but how do you translate that to a 5-year rule? Or can I explain what I do to my grandfather who's not educated? Like sort of thing. I think there's power in simplicity and being able to articulate, and I think that's what sales and pre-sales is. So that was a lot about my second job.
Okay.
Yes, and that was in data center, right? So it's the job that I went to was Equinix. They're the largest data center provider in the world right now, and that company was where I learned how connectivity works. Because we talk about cloud, right? What is cloud? Cloud is not up in the sky. It's massive data centers sitting somewhere, and people are trying to run cables to them and connect. Amazon has their data center. They could be using Equinix. Google, AWS, do they maintain their own data center? No, they might use somebody else's space, the cabinets, the electricity generator, making sure everything's turned on 24/7 because banks are relying on the services, other customers, right? So it was a really interesting learning for me because I learned about connectivity. how does cloud applications connect and how are people consuming it? And like a very interesting example, for example, stock exchanges, right? There's like the stock exchanges have a rule. Nobody can be less than 10 meters or 20 meters cable, because high frequency trading, a meter can make a massive latency difference and you'll lose the pricing. So it's like yes, physical server racks, connectivity, all of that, but why are they doing what they're doing? Why do you need to be in a spot where there is connectivity to everyone and you are closest to that, right? So it's physical data set is one thing, but why? And I kind of learned that, and articulation and the messaging. I think that was a very, very important step in my career. That well.
Okay. So yeah, good to know about your career point of view. So you're moreover the phase which you have gone, right? So as we are starting on the podcast of cybersecurity, so from your context point of view, so how do you see the cybersecurity in Nepal? So कस्तो छ यसको स्कोप यहाँ हैन, कतिको यहाँ करियर पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूमा चाहिँ मान्छेले काम गरिरहेको छ, सो के यसमा?
अफ कोर्स।
सो त्योभन्दा पनि अगाडि चाहिँ साइबर सेक्युरिटी चाहिँ हजुरले कसरी बुझ्नुहुन्छ हैन, सो हाम्रो अडियन्सले त्यो जान्न चाहन्छन्?
हजुर। So म इकोनिक्समा 2-3 वर्ष काम गरिसकेपछि I was looking for what's next. I know my role very well. I can deliver. I've always been driven by challenges, right? So I was like, what's next? And network engineer भएको भएर we know networking, we know firewall, ACLs, right? Access control lists and firewall policies and all of that. But I never worked in cybersecurity, so to speak. I actually started looking for cybersecurity roles, and I had to go sell myself. And so the selling skill kind of worked. I had to show them my track record. That's how I got into cybersecurity. So my first role in cybersecurity was pre-sale still in Checkpoint. And then I went to, up the stack on OSI from layer 3 to layer 7 application layer security with Akamai. So with application firewall, CDNs, content delivery network. I think if you talk about technology, and everybody's life is touched by technology, like तपाईँको मोबाइल छ, मेरो मोबाइल छ, हामी घरमा बस्छौँ, घरमा आमा बुवा छोराछोरी सबैजनाले इन्टरनेट चलाउँछन् हैन. It touches everybody's life. There's a level of security that's needed everywhere. And from personal level to then, you go to organizations, you've got employees accessing various applications. तपाईँको हुन्छ नि malware छ networkमा, हुन्छ नि maybe somebody is angry, an angry employee, you fired them, they've still got access for a month. And they want to actually sabotage you and your reputation. So they could hack stuff, they could steal your data. So I think relatable wayमा कुरा गर्दाखेरि cybersecurity touches every person's life, whether they know it or not. मेरो बुवा मामु मेरो हजुरबाबुलाई थाहा छैन, तर it touches their life. अस्ट्रेलियामा, and maybe it's here as well, रिटायर्ड मान्छेहरूको ब्याङ्क ब्यालेन्स हुन्छ अनि ह्याकरले कल गर्छ, ए तपाईँको त हुन्छ नि ब्याङ्कमा आज के भएछ, बत्ती गयो, के भयो हुन्छ नि. अनि
इन्डियामा धेरै केस सुनिन्छ,
त्यो धेरैतिर हुन्छ, अस्ट्रेलियामा पनि हुन्छ, अमेरिकामा पनि हुन्छ, किनकि यो हामीभन्दा 2-3 जेनेरेसन अगाडिको मान्छेहरू दे might not be as literate in cyber security or technology, right? So कसैले फोन गरेर ओहो तपाईँको ब्याङ्कमा त हुन्छ नि $1,000 कसले लगेछ, वी निड टु भेरिफाई, मलाई छिटो छिटो एकपल्ट पासवर्ड दिनुहोस् त भनेर भने $1,000 ल भनेर दिन्छ नि त, अनि गयो उसको अब हुन्छ नि जिन्दगीभरको स्यालेरी गयो अरे. सो इट टचेस अ लट अफ पिपल, राइट? टचेस अ लट अफ पिपल्स लाइफ. I think, and that's everywhere. That's in Nepal, that's in Australia, that's worldwide. So
यसको लागि नै अवेरनेस चाहियो.
अवेरनेस चाहियो हजुर. अनि ठुल्ठुलो अर्गनाइजेसनहरूले, ठुलो सानो अर्गनाइजेसनहरूले, अब जस्तो भनौँ न एनटिसी भनौँ, एनसेल भनौँ, उनीहरूको कस्टमर बेस हुन्छ, हामी सब्सक्राइब गर्छौँ होइन, हामी पनि सब्सक्राइब गर्दाखेरि उनीहरूले पनि एउटा लेभल अफ सिक्युरिटी एड गरिरहेको हुन्छ. जस्तो तपाईँको मोबाइलबाट कुनै भर्खर जेनेरेट गरेको हुन्छ नि डिजिए अल्गोरिदम भन्छ होइन, भर्खर डोमेनहरू, नयाँ नयाँ डोमेनहरू ह्याकरहरूले गरेको, उनीहरूको रेपुटेसन राम्रो छैन, हामीलाई त थाहा हुँदैन, तर आइएसपी लेभलमा उनीहरूले के गर्न सक्छ त, दिस वेबसाइट I don't trust it. So they have security controls. So they have already added a layer of security. So they protect us. हामी त्यो malware साइटमा नजाओस्, malware भयो भने पनि तपाईँको कम्पनीको प्रोफाइल हुन्छ नि, अब एजेन्ट होला, तपाईँको प्रोटेक्सन एन्डपोइन्टमा ल्यापटपमा मोबाइलमा त्यो भयो भने तपाईँको मालवेयर तपाईँले अफ नेट हुँदाखेरि पनि मालवेयर इन्स्टल गरेर फेरि VPN-मा कनेक्ट हुँदाखेरि त्यो मालवेयरले के गर्छ त होइन मेन ह्याकर्सहरूको इन्टेन्सन के हो दे वान फाइन्ड यु एन्ड दे गो आउट अफ द वे टु फाइन्ड यु इट्स 9 to 5 जबमा राइट
चाइना चाहिँ अहिले धेरै एक्टिभ भएको छैन मैले त अब धेरै न्युजहरू सुन्छु कि चाइनामा दे इस्टाब्लिस अडेन कम्पनी होइन अनि त्यसमा चाहिँ लगभग 50-60जना मान्छे चाहिँ ह्याकिङमै उनीहरूको फुल टाइम नै ह्याकिङ हुन्छ कि अरू देशको इन्फर्मेसन लिने होइन अनि एउटा देशबाट अर्को देशलाई सेन्ड गर्ने सो मिस देयर इज अ डिफ्रेन्ट इन्टिटिज इन चाइना विच इज दे आर डुइङ होइन इलिगल so how do you think so this part they are doing right or wrong so or they want to do based on their जस्तै अहिले त अब चाइना भनेको त सेकेन्ड लार्जेस्ट अर फर्स्ट लार्जेस्ट GDP-मा त ग्रोथ छ सो उनीहरूलाई म्यासिभ इकोनोमी हो सो उनीहरूलाई चाहिँ अरूको इन्फर्मेसन तानेर आफू अगाडि बढ्ने हो कि मोरओभर उनीहरूले चाहिँ यो कन्टेक्समा चाहिँ किन गरिरहेको छ मलाई त्यो बुझ्नु थियो
China is a massive country, right? It's not just China. Like bad people are everywhere. You know, there are majority are good people and there are bad people. Bad people are trying to do bad things to good people. It can be in China, it can be in Europe, it can be here. You never know. Just because we don't know doesn't mean it doesn't exist, right? किनकि attackers-हरु अब जस्तो मेरो cyber security journey-मा customer-हरुलाई help गर्दाखेरि attacks are coming from everywhere, and it could come from
China.
It could be from China, it could be from Nepal, right? And majority could be China, and could be, but it really depends on who is behind the attack, what is their intention is. It could be an organization run by multiple hackers. It could be nation level, right? But the next war is cyber war.
Yeah.
You know, it's not bomb. It could be bomb, but cyber war is where you take data, right?
Means there is a cyber Sena also, right? Who is cyber Sena?
Yeah, cyber Sena, exactly. And multiple large economic countries have massive investment to protect themselves, right? So hackers are hackers, like you said, 9 to 5. That's their normal job. They're getting paid for it, and there's ethical hacking. You know, organizations can have their own department who do ethical hacking, which means your blue team, right? You're trying to defend. You know, you've got a SOC team, monitoring, so you're trying to protect from the attacks. And then you have red teams, like you're being offensive, you're attacking, or you're going through a practice of attacking your own organization. So you find it first rather than somebody else. And that's the same concept as bug bounty programs, right? Like you actually hire people and you put it out there. Hey, whoever finds vulnerabilities will pay you, because I would much rather good people find it and tell me rather than bad people finding it and stealing my data, right? So the threat actors are trying to find you, then compromise you. Like once they've found you, they'll compromise you. Then they move across in your organization, and the ultimate is they steal your data, right? And this is what we talk about in Zscaler. How do you do it, right? If you talk about traditional, I know we're drifting, I think it all makes sense, right?
Yeah.
And please stop me if it doesn't. It's like, so how do they find you? Everything is on the internet. And then the way people find you, hackers find you, is IP address. Because IP addresses are public addresses. If somebody finds an IP address, they know they can attack it, right? And that could be your organization IP address or an Amazon load balancer or whoever. But and you've heard of DDoS, right? Distributed Denial of Service. What that means is, it's not just people attacking you. You are overtaken IoT, OT devices. And you about fridge, phones, microwave. That's why, they're all smart devices, and most of them are smart devices now, and they come with, factory default username, password, probably the same. So people know that they hack into that, and those devices are attacking, sending requests to your server, and they exhaust your server, and the server is down, right? So, and that could just be a DNS resolution server, right? And if your server, your application server might still be online, performing well, but the DNS server can't resolve your name, nothing's going to go. So there's so many different ways that they can attack a DNS server. They can do a direct, if they can reach directly, if your application server has IP address published, they can go directly, make a direct access, right? So that's that. And so I think how they find you, that first step is IP address. And, and that is when, I think it's a right sort of point to kind of introduce the idea of zero trust architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is before हाम्रो VPN अब अहिले कोभिड भन्दा अगाडि त धेरैजना मान्छे घरबाट काम गर्दैन थियो, अफिसमै गयो, ल्यान्डमा हुन्छ नि कनेक्ट गर्यो वा कनेक्ट गर्यो, VPN-मा कनेक्ट गर्यो. Once you're in VPN, you've got access to network. You can move laterally. This idea of micro-segmentation, but you can bypass that. It's easily done. Which means now you can move laterally. Once you're in the network, you've gone through the IP, you can move laterally. And then there's been instances where we've heard organizations have been hacked. There's data leakage, there's ransomware, multiple ways of attacking. But sometimes, in the aftermath of an event, you realize there were events and the hackers were in the organization for 2 years before they actually did something, right? So the idea here is now, it's not, are you going to be attacked? It's like, when are you going to be attacked? It's not even if you're going to be attacked. It's when. And so the whole team of, blue team defense, red team attacking, and bounty sort of thing, to find those things proactively.
So यसमा चाहिँ सेफ्टी मेजर्सहरू पनि यदि एज अ युजर्स पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूमा चाहिँ यदि एडप्टेसन गऱ्यो भने चाहिँ अब जुन त्यो इथिकल ह्याकिङको कन्सर्नहरू छ त्यो कम हुन्छ नि. जस्तै फर इक्जाम्पल होइन, जस्तै मेरो घरमा मैले क्यामेरा राखेको छु, एमआईको क्यामेरा राखेको छु कि त्यो चाहिँ चाइनिज कम्पनी. सो मेरो जहिले पनि कन्सर्न हुन्छ कि मैले त्यो घरमा राखेको क्यामेराले चाहिँ जुन त्यो भिजुअल खिचिरहेको छ नि त्यो चाहिँ कहाँ जान्छ त्यो होइन, त्यो डाइरेक्टली इट गोज टु द चाइनाको कुनै एउटा कम्पनीको सर्भरमा, अर इट जस्ट बी अन माई प्रिमाइसेस, मेरो लोकलको जुन डिभाइसको एजमा छ त्यो छ. तर मोस्टली चाहिँ जति पनि चाइनिज डिभाइसहरू छ नि होइन, दे सेन्ड देयर डेटा टु देयर ओन सर्भर, दे डोन्ट एड अप इन द लोकल, राइट? सो त्यस्तो केसहरूमा चाहिँ कसरी हामीले चाहिँ त्यसलाई स्टप गर्न सक्छौँ?
I think it's about finding out, right? Reading terms and conditions, and it's as relevant to a personal individual versus an organization. I mean, organization of banks or education sector, like aviation, research, defense, you name it. उहाँहरूसँग कुरा गर्दाखेरि के हुन्छ त, डाटा मेरो पनि त पसलहरूमा, मेरो ब्याङ्क्सको हुन्छ नि, रिटेल स्टोर्सहरूमा क्यामेरा छ, कहाँ जान्छ त्यो?
Most of the banks is having the Huawei. I know they company camera.
They might have a server that it goes to. They want to know, is there a way that can be transferred? And I think those are being curious and learning about what risks you have and going through the terms and conditions and asking those questions, right? Before you buy a solution, asking what's important to you. And can they tick the box of what's important to you? Because if you are aware, if you are, if you don't want to be hacked, if you're, looking at the risks that come from any solution, you need to be asking those questions. And the other thing is, you need to be talking to your peers. I think that's a massive thing. We're like in Zscaler, our customers talk about us. We don't have to do, hey, look, we're great. There's a concept of net promoter score. This is when customers say, when the market says, would you recommend Zscaler to somebody else? They'll be like, yes. Not a maybe, yes. And our score is 70 plus. In the industry, our average is 35, right? So it's, even as an individual person, like you can go and talk to your other peers, like neighbors. What cameras do you have? A bank could be talking, like CISOs, right? Like they have a massive network. You could be working for competitors, but it's a very close-knit community. If somebody gets hacked, everybody knows what's happening and why that happened. And it's a network of collaborators. And, you protect each other, you let people know, you educate them. And I think using that community and the network is also very important. Doing your research, but also using it.
So यसमा चाहिँ अनि हजुरले जिरो ट्रस्टको कुरा गर्नुभएको थियो होइन. सो के छ यसमा जिरो ट्रस्टको आर्किटेक्चरको पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूमा? सो यो पनि साइबर सेक्युरिटीमै पर्छ. सो यो चाहिँ नयाँ कन्सेप्ट हो कि पहिलादेखि नै चलिरहेको कन्सेप्ट हो? यो मोर ओभर चाहिँ एप्लिकेसन पोइन्ट अफ भ्यूमा चाहिँ भयो होइन?
जिरो ट्रस्टको चाहिँ पहिलाको चाहिँ के थियो कि पहिला नेटवर्क सेन्ट्रिक सिक्युरिटी थियो होइन. access control, there's firewall rules. This was a key word. Network center that if you're in the network, you trust them. By building by VPN, you trust them, you trust it, and then you put in your password, right? So you trust but verify. The you zero trust coin गरेको पहिले भइसक्यो 1990s तिर एउटा scientific research मा paper आएको थियो 2009 तिर हो के अरे एउटा massive operation aurora भन्ने भयो त्यहाँ चाहिँ हुन्छ नि चाइनाकैबाट हो के अरे इनिसिएट भएको ह्याकिङहरू Google, Akamai and other massive organizations across the world, there was a targeted attack, right? I mean, Google came up with an idea at the time around 2009. Zscaler was done created in 2007, but this whole thing, Operation Aurora happened, and Google came out with a zero trust architecture called Beyond Corp. So what that means is, if you're in a corporate environment, you trust it. But let's look at where applications are not sitting.
So you say Google initiate or companies say there is AWS, there is Microsoft, so they have also the same architecture, right?
I think zero trust is a framework. Zero trust is a framework, right? And zero trust could mean different things to different people. Application may apply gorsa. So it's the way we do zero, and we are zero trust provider at Zscaler. What we do is never trust, always verify. Whether you're in the network or not, you're not trusted. I think the point is we are connecting. We're a switchboard. We're connecting a user. Mobile phone. Where do you want to go? Do you want to go to internet? Do you want to go to a SaaS application, Office 365, Share Drive? Share Drive pani hamro bhannu na aba Google Drive मेरो personal drive छ मेरो company को हामी G Suite use गर्छौं. Can I copy and paste? Tenant restriction हुनु पर्यो personal र corporate मा. त्यो भयो. Plus अब तपाईको application AWS, Azure हुन्छ नि Google मा हुन सक्छ, तपाईको private data center मा हुन सक्छ हैन. अनि where is that person trying to go or device trying to go? Who are they? Are they, authorized? Can we authenticate them? Once they're there, do they have access to that particular application at that point in time? Just because network you have access. Zero trust least privileged access at that point in time. Access dinu bhayo हैन अब अहिले म नेपालमा छु अस्ट्रेलियामा काम गर्ने मान्छे हो तर हुन्छ नि they'll still check posture of who I am. अनि तर अब म अहिले नेपालमा छु भोलि म हुन्छ नि जमैकाबाट गरेर आसुर हैन. Can I be trusted? So there's a lot of back-end sort of analysis that happens, and that's the AI ML platform. We see massive things all over. We talk about zero trust, 0-day vulnerabilities. If we see something somewhere else, we're protecting the rest of our customers across the globe, right? So I think zero trust, the way I define it is like, or we define it is like making sure only a trusted person, application, person, device is connected to the application that they're wanting to connect, and nothing else, with the right kind of privilege only.
So it is a more type of authorization part. So
authorization is part of it. So example, airport मा गयो हैन अब especially America मा travel गर्न मन छ भनेदेखि पहिला तपाईलाई भिजा चाहियो हैन. त्यहाँ तपाईले चेक इन गर्नु पर्यो. म के लिएर आउँदैछु, चेक इनमा पनि स्क्यान गर्नु पर्यो, पेलोड SSL इन्स्पेक्सन हैन, त्यो हुने भयो. अब त्यहाँ गइसकेपछि बोर्डिङ पास दिने भयो. बोर्डिङ पास गइसकेपछि अब तपाईले सिक्युरिटीमा जानु पर्यो, बोर्डिङ पास चेक गर्छ, इमिग्रेसन अलाउड छ कि छैन, तपाईको क्रिमिनल हिस्ट्री छ कि छैन, सबै हेर्नु भयो हैन. त्यो भयो. अमेरिकामा जाँदाखेरि के हुन्छ, लास्टको गेटमा पुगुन्जेलसम्म पनि उनीहरूले चेक गर्छ कि.
ओके.
बोर्डर कन्ट्रोल उनीहरूको प्लेनमा छिर्नुभन्दा अगाडिसम्म हुन्छ अरे. प्लस उता अब अमेरिकामा गइसकेपछि अर्को चेक हुन्छ हैन. मल्टिपल लेभल्स अफ चेक. तपाईँलाई त्यहाँनिरबाट टिकट दिएर बोर्डिङ पास छ भन्दैमा जाँदैन. उनीहरूले फेरि हुन्छ नि त्यो चेक गर्छ. भिजाको सबै भइसक्यो. प्लस त्यहाँ गएर फेरि इमिग्रेसन गर्नु पर्यो. हुन्छ नि मल्टिपल एन्ड सिक्युरिटी इज अ लेयर्ड अप्रोच. there's no one silver bullet. एउटा गरे मेरो पुग्यो भन्ने हुँदैन. अनि America does it. So that's almost similar to what Zscaler does. Like authorization is only one part of it. We don't even do IDP. अब तपाईले Azure ID भन्नु, Google IDP भन्नु हैन. We don't do IDP. तर we use that to authenticate this user. नि हामीले चाहिँ अब यो युजरलाई कस्तो पोलिसी अप्लाई गर्ने, उसको एक्सेस केसँग हुनुपर्छ. अब तपाईको भनौँ न हामीले अस्ति ChatGPT को कुरा गर्यौं. Maybe some developers are allowed to use ChatGPT. तर should HR be allowed to use ChatGPT? Maybe not. And so how are you restricting, how are you allowing, and how are you switching?
Yeah, HR should allow ChatGPT because they want to know the answer, right, of certain things. So
Depends,
yeah.
depends. I think that's the thing, and it varies, which organization you're part of.
यसमा पनि यस्तो छ अब मैले चाहिँ एज अब एआईमै अलि चाहिँ आफ्नो टाइम इन्भेस्ट गरेको छु होइन सो दुइटा रहेछ कि अब एआई चाहिँ अब च्याटजिपिटी भनेको सोली अब जे आफूले टाइप गरेको छ यो चाहिँ सबै च्याटजिपिटीकै सर्भरमा गयो ओपन एआईको सर्भरमा गयो अर्को चाहिँ हामीले एउटा कस्टमाइज च्याटबट बनाउन सकिन्छ होइन त्यो चाहिँ भनेको ऱ्याग हो रिक्रुटमेन्ट आर्गुमेन्ट जेनेरेसन होइन
हजुर
सो त्यो त्यसमा चाहिँ बेसिकली हामीले अब जे हाम्रो प्राइभेट डेटाहरू छ त्यो प्राइभेट डेटा चाहिँ हामीले आफ्नै सर्भरमा राख्न सकिन्छ कि विच विल नट गो टु द ओपन एआई सर्भर सो यसरी चाहिँ हामीले मेन्टेन गर्न सकिन्छ सो अहिले चाहिँ मोस्ट अफ द कम्पनीले छ नि होइन यही एप्रोचमा चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ कि उनीहरूको चाहिँ के छ भने प्राइभेट एलएलएम भन्ने छ लार्ज ल्याङ्ग्वेज मोडल एउटा चाहिँ पब्लिक भयो जुन चाहिँ यो लामा अनि च्याटजिपिटी होइन जिमिनी प्रो यो चाहिँ पब्लिक भयो सो प्राइभेटमा यदि त्यस्तै खाले च्याटजिपिटी बनाउनु पऱ्यो भने सो ऱ्याक चाहिँ इम्प्लिमेन्ट हुनुपर्छ कि एज अ प्रोजेक्ट अनि जस्तै हजुरले एचआर भन्नुभयो नि होइन अब एचआरलाई अब उसलाई ब्रेन स्टर्मिङ गर्नु पऱ्यो भने होइन सो दे क्यान युज दिस टाइप अफ सोल्युसन राइट टु ब्रेन स्टर्म होइन सो या
आई थिङ्क भेरी गुड पोइन्ट होइन अहिले अस्ति भर्खर म एक डेढ हप्ता अगाडि एउटा गुगल डेभलपर ग्रुपको आयो एक्सटेन्डेडको सेसनमा गएको थिएँ नि मैले चाहिँ साइबर सेक्युरिटी करियर लिडरसिप सट सिमिलर तर स्लाइटली डिफ्रेन्ट हुन्छ नि त्यसको बारेमा कुरा गरेर म पछि आउनुभएको एकजना बहिनी प्रियङ्का नेपाली नै हुनुहुन्थ्यो इट वाज भेरी इन्ट्रेस्टिङ टु नेपाली फिमेल्स इन अस्ट्रेलिया एट अ गुगल इभेन्ट इट्स भेरी गुड थ्याङ्क्स टु जेसनजी हाम्रो गुगल डेभलपर कम्युनिटीको हजुर चिन्नुहुन्छ हजुर इट्स अ भेरी स्मल कम्युनिटी उहाँले पनि मेरो नाम रेकमेन्ड गर्नुभएको जस्तो लाग्यो धेरै अगाडि तपाईँको पोस्टमा कि जस्तो लाग्यो जे त्यो एनिवे त्यहाँ कुरा गर्दाखेरि पनि यो अब म आफू कोडर नभएको भएर हुन्छ नि मलाई इम्प्लिमेन्टेसन एप्लिकेसन्सहरू चाहिँ मलाई थाहा छैन हुन्छ सफ्टवेयर इन्जिनियरिङ किनकि मेरो चाहिँ अब सोल्युसन्सहरू प्लेटफर्महरू मैले सेल गर्ने भएँ होइन अनि भेन्डरहरूसँग काम गर्ने मेरो जहिले मेरो करियरबाटै मैले भेन्डरसँग काम गरेँ नि कोर्स हाम्रो रिसर्च डेभलपमेन्ट टिम हुन्छ तर कोडिङमा चाहिँ म धेरै एक्सपोज भएको छैन तर all the terms that you mentioned, I was very much exposed to that, and we and I was very lucky to sit, at a panel discussion and hear them. It was really nice. And it was open source ko kura गर्दाखेरि open source मा कति चाहिँ मान्छेहरूले आफ्नो प्रोडक्सन चाहिँ ओपन सोर्समा राख्छ भन्ने कुरा होइन किनकि एआई प्लेटफर्म भनेको डाटा जति छ त्यो हिसाबले रिजल्ट आउने भयो garbage in, garbage out भन्ने concept हुन्छ होइन if it's good data you get good outcome तर open platform how many organizations and people are comfortable sharing their IP intellectual property data into open platform and they were it's amazing right I was sitting at that Google event and we had a person from Google speak who I think created one of the platforms I think he was talking about Gemini like he's one of the people that created that it was amazing but the whole idea is Google's trying to say hey here's a platform and we don't want this platform or this power to be in the hands of just select few companies we want everybody to have them that's why open source platform exists the trust level because it's open source you put it in and you go and think about Tesla and how everything Elon Musk puts everything out there amazing right and I think we should do that more तर garbage in garbage out
so open source पनि there are certain validation होइन अब सबै कुरा चाहिँ garbage भनेको fully डटी नै सबै त्यहाँ इन्सर्ट चाहिँ गर्न पाइँदैन होइन सो त्यसमा पनि सर्टेन भ्यालिडेसन रिस्ट्रिक्सनहरू छ ओपन सोर्समा जस्तो फर एन इक्जाम्पल म हजुरलाई चाहिँ सुपाबेसको बारेमा भन्छु कि सुपाबेस इज अ ब्याक इन एज अ सर्भिस सो उनीहरूको टेक्नोलोजी फुल चाहिँ एज अ ओपन सोर्सै गरिदिएको छ होइन सो त्यसमा चाहिँ हामीले पिजी भेक्टर भन्ने हुन्छ होइन सो इट इज अ काइन्ड अफ भेक्टर डेटाबेस सो अब त्यसमा पनि अब जो चाहिँ अथर होइन जसलाई चाहिँ इन्ट्रेस्टेड छ ओपन सोर्समा काम गर्न सो दे क्यान चेन्ज दे क्यान मोडिफाई द कोड तर अब त्यसमा पनि सर्टेन हुन्छ पर्मिसनहरू हुन्छ होइन त्यसमा अब मान्छेहरूले हेर्छन् होइन त्यो कोड चाहिँ जेन्युन हो कि होइन त्यसले के डिफेक्ट दिएको छ कि छैन सो त्यसरी चाहिँ फिल्टरेसन चाहिँ हुन्छ क्या मोर ओभर So open source is good technology. Open source को main advantage चाहिँ के छ भने you will get a lots of contributor होइन. And so if you have a just limited logic, if there are numbers of people, they will add your logic in your system होइन, so that your system gets more broad होइन. So that's the main.
त्यो चाहिँ अब इन्डिभिजुअल अब तपाईँले युनि प्रोजेक्टहरू गर्दै हुनुहुन्छ ठिक छ, यु ट्राइङ टु फाइन्ड हेल्प एन्ड इफ यु क्यान गेट हेल्प ग्रेट. तर तपाईँ सोसियल तपाईँ एउटा अर्गनाइजेसनको सिटिओ हुनुहुन्छ वा सिसो हुनुहुन्छ. You have a development house inside your organization, right? And people are working hard to create the best possible code for your application.
Yeah.
And they have a baseline. So, ChatGPT, can you help me improvise? Means like, you're losing that IP because it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's gone, right? And what loopholes there might be, like, anybody can have that. And then, I think हाम्रो सुरुमा हामी यो प्रोग्रामको कुरा गर्दाखेरि हामीले डिस्कसन गर्दा त्यो त पेड भर्जन पनि छ नि त, ChatGPT इज नट फ्री भर्जन, त्यो त हामीले पे गरेपछि त हाम्रो इन्भाइरोमेन्ट भयो. अनि त्यो गुगलको प्यानल डिस्कसनमा पनि यो कुरा आएको थियो क्या, प्रो भने प्रो भर्जन त हाम्रो इन्भाइरोमेन्ट भयो. तर and one of the panelists said, you have to, and I very much am aligned to that, you have to look at the terms and conditions. Your data security, तपाईँको intellectual property को security भनेको, it's a shared responsibility. तपाईँको data तपाईँको हो कि.
Yeah.
If it gets lost, like they're not losing anything, you're losing it.
Yes.
Right? So you have to look at the terms and conditions. Who are you signing that contract with? Pro version लागि. There are massive number of pages to go through. There are loopholes. Who else are the third-party providers that have access to some or maybe majority of that data? And so when you're signing that terms and conditions, you're not just signing with that provider. You've got given access to all of that. So I would recommend, if you are looking at that and if you're doing this, look at the terms and conditions. And the reason I say this is, I look after Japan market, Singapore, all of ASEAN, India, this market as well, and then Australia, New Zealand. And I'm talking to customers going, actually, I don't want any of my coding people to type anything on ChatGPT because I don't want anything to lose, to leave the organization. So we work on a solution. We have a solution called browser isolation. When you go to ChatGPTs or any sort of generative AI sort of tools, it's pixelated. You can't copy paste it. Like my laptop, I can't paste anything on ChatGPT or any generative AI because that's one way of data leakage. So as an individual contributor, as a software coding person, maybe as an HR, I'm trying to brainstorm, but as an organization, you're looking at the risk.
Yeah. And so that's why there is a private concept called private LLM. So if there is a private LLM, your data will be within your premises only.
And then, it goes back to how much data you have and how much quality data you get back.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it depends. So basically for that, the RAG should be used. Okay. So हजुरले चाहिँ गुगलको अहिले कन्टेक्स्ट भन्नुभएको थियो नि, गुगल आयोको कन्टेक्स्ट. सो त्यो चाहिँ के हो त्यो? सो त्यो चाहिँ मोर टाइप अफ, जस्तै अब म पनि यो माइक्रोसफ्टमा चाहिँ इङ्गेज छु होइन, म पनि यो इभेन्ट्सहरू चाहिँ अर्गनाइज गरिरहेको हुन्छु, माइक्रोसफ्ट कन्फ्लिक्ट होइन, अनि अरू पनि छ जस्तै .NET भयो, माइक्रोसफ्टको .NET कोर. So Google चाहिँ कसरी यो इनिसिएट गरिरहेको छ इभेन्ट्सहरू?
I think it's the same with Microsoft, Amazon, like they've got user groups, right? Like community sort of building, and I think Google is massive in that community build programs, and they organize something, I don't know, I think every month or maybe more frequently. I've spoken to their committee a couple of times, JCI, if he sees somewhere like, hey, maybe you can repurpose your content, maybe you can cater this slightly differently, and is amazing, right? He's a chapter lead for Sydney, and so it's more of that community build-ups and very similar to what you're doing. I think you have probably the option to say, hey, I'm going to be the chapter lead, or I'm going to help with part of the organizing team, because at the event I met quite a lot of organizing committee members, and they're all passionate people. It's voluntary, and speakers are volunteers, right? But the fact that, coding is not just about coding. You're working on something that impacts people. And so cybersecurity is relevant there. what types of applications there are, and people who are coding, like, what else can I look for? What other opportunities are there? Sort of thing. Right? So bringing everybody together, knowledge sharing, and building the community together, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically it is a community event.
Yes.
So मलाई चाहिँ यो बुझ्न दिए जस्तै नेपालमा पनि अब म त एज अ म इभेन्ट अर्गनाइजर होइन, अब मोस्टली चाहिँ अडियन्स भनेको स्टुडेन्ट नै आउँछन्, धेरै जस्तो वर्किङ प्रोफेसनल अलिक कम आउँछन् होइन. सो अब अस्ट्रेलियामा त मोस्टली स्टुडेन्ट धेरै आउँछन् कि वर्किङ प्रोफेसनल धेरै आउँछन् यस्तो इभेन्टहरूमा चाहिँ?
हजुर.
के छ?
अब लास्ट स्याटरडे र त्योभन्दा अगाडिको स्याटरडेको इभेन्ट हो यो होइन. I think it was about 150 people, pretty good turnout. Only 40% of them were students. All over, it's early in career people, maybe 4-5 years, or some of them were managers, some of them have been in the industry for 10-15 years. A lot of people came to me afterwards and said, hey, I'd never thought about pre-sales as a career opportunity, or even, the leadership roles, and think about the differentiation between, coach, mentor, sponsor. I think we're going to touch on that. The concept of just not just, there's so much available, right? I think gone are the days when you are focused and you have to work in a company for 20 years and you get promoted, and there's so many opportunities available, but there's also resources to fast track your career as well, right? And so I think in terms of audience, there were a mix. About 40% were students, but there were lots of other people who were in the industry already. So
recently you have participated, or you were doing this for the past couple of years? Invite to speaking events have probably been more recent, like COVID भयो, मेरो podcast मैले सुरु गरेँ, and त्यसपछि I ran it, it was called All About Data, where I brought in people like experts in the industry talk about, because everything is about data, right? Mm-hmm. People are after your data. That's the currency. And so I would talk about cybersecurity, I would talk about application, build up, I'll talk about anything and everything under the sun, but from a, research, from a data point of view. Because I think data brings all the technologies are around data, right? Even in my career, like data center is all about data, security is all about data, data management, net app, storage is all about data, right? And so you build networks to transfer data. So that was that. Ani COVID सकेपछि अनि last 1.5 years म Zscaler गएपछि one of the invitees to my podcast, Mahapula, who leads the Global Solutions Consulting in Cloudflare, she reached out and said, Barsha, I have an idea. Do you think we could do something together? We are competitors, right? Zscaler and Cloudflare are competitors. And so, but it wasn't about competition. It was more about, hey, Maha and Barsha have a common passion. We want to increase awareness of opportunities in the field of IT, cybersecurity, and give a platform, especially for women who are trying to get into the industry, or early in career people, both men and women, to see what opportunities there are. And so we bring guests. And then the other thing is, like, if maybe you're a teacher, and this is something, last Saturday, a teacher came to me and she says, I taught in school and now I'm in IT and now I want to do cybersecurity. How amazing, right? And so we bring people who can kind of open your minds a little bit and say, this is possible. Anything's possible. So you also do the podcast?
Yes, we've got Maha, Barsha. So, we couldn't come up with a better name. It was like, we'll just put together. So Maha, Barsha, both Sanskrit names. She's from India, I'm from Nepal. Maha means, the great. Barsha means shower. So with a great rain, we'll make it work, And so, and we've had a few conversations. It only kicked off this year. We've been talking about it for a year and a bit. Kicked off. We've got another person, Ginny, who was my marketing manager when I ran the podcast at NetApp. So all three people, common passion, voluntary. We do it because we love it and we want to see the difference it makes, right? So Theo got it, but she said now, people are like, hey, I've got a speaking slot. Do you want to come? And it's scary. So scary, right? Like, doing a podcast from the comfort of your home or, a studio. Yeah. And sometimes you've got a script, or although I'm not very scripted. I think natural conversation is way more fun and, more relatable. So when you go and speak in front of 150 people, was my first time speaking to that large.
So when did you think that I should do a podcast? So it was when you made that competitor?
No, so this was in 2021.
Huh?
2020, when was COVID? 2020 was COVID, right? Yes, my manager at the time said, Barsha, I'm going to introduce you to a marketing person. Got introduced to the market. I almost missed that call because I was so busy that week. And he's like, this is for you. Come join, And I was like, okay. I thought, can you record it? I'll listen to it because I'm really busy. But anyway, so they introduced me to Ginny, and Ginny said, what would you like to, we're thinking of content creation. What would you like to talk about? I'm like, I am passionate about encouraging people to choose STEM and female in IT. And she said, that's fantastic. So, and then we talked about it, and our discussion went from, you know what, I actually don't want to just encourage female in IT. I want to create a platform where men and women are invited and they're equal. Because, we can talk about female in IT and how there's less of them, but if we show how amazing things are being done both by men and women, and we create a platform where we treat our guests equally, then it's not about female. You're actually showing that there are amazing things being done by amazing people, and you don't. It's not necessarily be a man or a woman or a gender of your choice. Like I think that's and that's what the platform became. And I invited Maha on that show because she's the VP of Solutions Consulting, right? And when she came, she's massive about data. She's been about data all the time ever since I've known her, right? And so because I moved away from NetApp to Zscaler, so that platform I created, Ginny helped me. Now that's being run by somebody else, which is amazing, right? So that's a legacy that we built in somebody else, and it still exists, and that's amazing. And so when I started Zscaler,
so you have a YouTube chat,
yes.
So Barsha, right?
Barsha Show is the YouTube channel, yes. So Ginny, we interviewed Ginny as well because she's always in the behind the scenes. So we had an episode where we talked about how did we three come together. I think that's also probably maybe if we shift gears a little bit to leadership, right? We talked about careers, and I think there's careers in each technology stack, like mobile to network to application also public facing websites versus private applications. How do you protect them? And then, you talk about DDoS, you talk about bots, like automated systems and attacks, and how do you protect that? Zero trust, whole new level, right? I think if we pivot a little bit to careers and like leadership, maybe, I think everybody is a leader in their own right. It's such a cliche. You're a leader, I'm a leader. Everybody's like, everybody behind this camera is a leader. I think it's like, what is your motivation being a leader? Do you want to manage a team as part of your leadership journey, or do you want to have leadership, an advisory sort of role? Like you're a trusted advisor to your customers or your teams. You can be a CTO, you might not want to have any direct reports, but you're a leader, and I think leadership, especially in cybersecurity, because the threat landscape is evolving. We talked about bad actors doing new things, which means good people need to be doing even better things and 2 steps ahead, because otherwise they win, right? So if you're in cybersecurity, I think leadership is more about why you're in leadership. Why leadership in cybersecurity? It's an honorary mission. You're stopping bad people doing bad things to good people, right? And then it's also a very lucrative industry. There's not this skill shortage. We've heard of that. But a lot of people are starting that cybersecurity journey.
What is just like I want to stop here. Just if someone wants to go in the cybersecurity, right? Just I want to ask in terms of money point of view.
Yeah.
Right. So it is good. Means doing the work on the cybersecurity.
I think so. I think cybersecurity is a very good space to be in. Like I said, skill shortage. There's not enough people, and because cybersecurity touches everybody's lives, organizations are looking at people with diverse experience. Like not necessarily, like I said, a teacher wanted to go into cybersecurity, and there is a space for them. You know what I mean? Because we need people with different experiences, because attacks are being done against people with different experiences, different backgrounds, different education, no education, literate, So I think as a protective measure from an organization point of view, you need people who think differently, not just IT.
So that means there is a good salary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very great question. Very direct answer. Sorry, I did go around, but
Yes, sure, okay. So, Miss, you said about the Mahabarsha, right? Just I want to share my experience. Just like I also established Tech Webinar Nepal, right, back in 2018.
thank you for inviting me to that one as well.
I have been invited also on that cybersecurity only. More the topics were about the leadership. So in that context, right, how I started back in 2018, there was no webinar concept, right? Most of the event was done physically or in person, right?
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
And the idea came, right, is to do a virtual event, right? It was an office. I used to work in one of the reputed company in Nepal. And one of the colleague came to me, right, and he was interested to speak, right? And at that time, the Skype for Business was popular. So Skype, right? Yes. So I tried out with Skype for Business, and it was the first webinar I had did with my colleague.
Yep.
So as you told, right, you also got one colleague to means to do the podcast, right?
Absolutely.
So in my phase also that was like that.
Yeah.
Means there was
It's amazing, right? When it's so going away, don't Laxman Adhikari. I'm an engineer. I'm not a content creator, and you kind of have this stereotype. Content creator people must be marketing people. Like if you're too serious, if you're in technology, why are you creating content? But I think we're breaking so many barriers. But also, putting yourself out there, you are not just your job. You are a person. What is it that you're passionate about? And that makes, I think, especially the COVID situation goes so busy. I think people are becoming a little bit more comfortable sharing who they are, not just as a job, not just as a title that they have, but you are a full, whole person, and you can like that and that and that and that. You don't have to just like one thing. And, I think I really like, you starting the podcast, me doing it, and the people that we invite. It's so great to see that they're doing so many awesome stuff.
Yeah.
And that's inspiring, right?
Yes. So they are mostly trying to share their knowledge, right? So whatever they are doing in their field, they are trying to connect with people. Correct. So the main objective is you are trying to connect with the people within your domain as well as outside your
domain. Because that's how you connect the dots. That's how you create a bigger picture. That's how you educate people who are starting out. And I think that's also, showing up, letting people know what's possible. It's okay to go outside of your comfort zone.
Yes.
You don't have to keep doing what you've always done, and you can still do it even if you're scared. And it's okay to fail as well. If you failed, if the first few episodes or 10 episodes didn't work, so what? It's about persistence, but you're not just talking about persistence, you're doing it. It's showing resilience as well, right?
Yeah. So thus I want to ask you, you talk about your career journey, right? So have you failed in your career journey, just like some things that taking a gap in a career is also a failure, or not doing the job for 1 or 2 years is also a failure?
So I think there's multiple layers of that definition, right? What is failure? म पहिलेदेखि साइन्स म्याथ्समा राम्रो भएर पुल्चोकमा स्कलरसिपमा नाम निस्क्यो। सेन्ट जेभियर्समा गएँ म। त्यति बेला हाम्रो इयर 10 को एसएलसी हुन्थ्यो, त्यसपछि आइएससी हुन्थ्यो। मैले आइएससी गरेँ, अहिले त K to 12 भन्छन् होइन। अनि जेभियर्समा नि नाम निस्क्यो, त्यो पनि राम्रै। अब त्यो गऱ्यो म त कडै मान्छे हो जस्तो लाग्छ नि त। अब त्यति गर्छ नि, त्यहाँ गयो, अब फर्स्ट रोल पनि पाएँ, ग्रेजुएट रोल पनि हुन्छ नि, त्यत्रो कम्पिटिटमा पाएँ। अब त्यसपछि अब जुनियरबाट सुरु गऱ्यो नि त। अनि सिनियर मान्छेहरू, म्यानेजरहरू यसो हेर्दा त्योभन्दा त मै गर्छु जस्तो पनि लाग्ने कि। स्पेसली यङ हुँदा त I think I can do that job, but I don't know what they're doing. Like, look at me, I'm so smart. But over the years, it takes years of experience to understand. And that was that. And that, because you're young, you're like, you think you can do everything, but it takes maturity, it takes humility to kind of understand, actually, now I know why I couldn't do that job. Now I know I'm doing this job and there's more for me to learn, right? It's that journey. So, Barack Obama interviews her, like young people starting out in career, they're like, why can't I do that job? Like, pick me so I can do these juicy jobs, right? But he says, be the person who solves things at any level in the organization. If you are a person that gets stuff done, not just, oh, there's this problem, that problem, but no. There was a problem, I solved it. Or, okay, there's a problem, let me take care of that. I think if you do that, you get noticed. And when you get noticed is how you get sponsors in your career. And sponsors are people who are talking about you when you are not in the room. And they're putting their reputation in line to back you up. And I think the way you gain sponsors is not, you can't ask a sponsor to be a sponsor.
Yes.
That's not how it works. You got to show up and somebody needs to see it and they need to back you up. You got to earn them.
Yeah,
and
you need to show your value.
Yeah. And when somebody backs you up, don't let them down, right? Like try not to let them down. Or even if you fail, you can still fail. You go and say, hey, I tried this and I failed, but you know what? Let me recommit. I'll do this. I think that's what is important with every failure. I think, and I think.
Yeah, and people doesn't want to show the failure. They always want to show the success, right?
I mean, I told you I lost my first job. That was a massive failure. That hit my confidence so much. Like 3 years into the industry, I'm like, do I go back to Nepal? म घरमा जान्छु अब घरमा बुवा मामला भनेर बिहा गरेर आउनु पर्ला भने म त्यही बस्छु यो यस्तो दुःख गरी के गर्नु भन्छ नि कोही पनि छैन अब नेपालमै सबै परिवार हैन अनि के को लागि आइरहनु त्यसपछि अब यो अर्को अपर्च्युनिटी आएपछि अनि ए ल नि त I'll give you तर I could have completely failed and I failed on different things, right? Like I didn't know certain things. I didn't know to communicate. That's small failures. And then you do it wrong. Sometimes you get pointed to what you did wrong. Massive ego hit, right? And so you do better. And then, I started in security from not security background. And there were days when I was like I was good at what I did. Why did I choose this, right? The frustration. But then I was like, no. I do want to get better at this. So I did that. And then I went into application areas, like massive learning journey again. Right? And then you go present and you're like, it's not up to mark. And then you come back and you're like, okay, I'm going to try it again. And do that. And that's, and people come to you and give you their feedback. And not all feedback is great for you. I mean, it's good because they're showing you what can be done. But when it lands on you, it might be like, oh my God, I'm that bad. I think we are our worst critic, right? I think we got to understand that we're learning, but we also want to have that critical aspect to it, but not too much, right? We got to be a bit graceful to ourselves. So failure is the way to success, and you only enjoy success if you've been through failure.
So do you think that coach and mentors should be there in the life to reduce the failure?
I think it's a great question. I've mentored for the last 10 years in the university that I've been part of. And because of my experience, I started asking people to mentor me. And for the longest time in my career, I thought I need mentors. And, mentors, like you can have multiple mentors. They're not precious about it. You can have mentor for, let's say, you want to create a financial wealth and you have a financial wealth person mentoring you, even though you're an engineer. Or you want to get to a certain level and you've got other people who've done it. So you can have multiple mentors.
So who is your mentor in the cybersecurity field? Someone?
Yeah, I've got multiple. I've got people in the organization that I've been part of. The person that actually introduced me to cybersecurity, he was my mentor. He was my sponsor. When I didn't know, like more Equinix or that, James Steen came to sell Akamai to Equinix, and I was managing their product, internet security product, because network engineer. And I was asking questions like, what do you do? How does traffic get forwarded if there's a DDoS? Like, GRE, how does that work? IPsec. So and then I came out, and in that room I had another female engineer with me, and so we came out and goes, I've never been in a room with a female SC, let alone two, right? I mean, and I ran into him at an AWS event after a couple of weeks. And then, I just asked, what are you passionate about? He said, I hate environmental waste, right? Like every time Mansell lunch got a plastic container, and he had a punish jar, right? You put $1 for every time you bring plastic takeaway container. And it was so fantastic. He's an expert and he's talking about his passion. And anyway, and then, 2 days later, he goes, Barsha. He calls me BK. A lot of people call me BK.
Okay, BK. Nice thing.
Yeah, so it's like, BK, would you be interested in a role at Akamai? I'm like, I don't know anything about Akamai. I don't have a cybersecurity background. He goes, no. Like, the way you're asking me questions, I think you've got the right attitude. You've got the right, and then he took me through what's needed at an application security level. And so I did that, and then I applied. And he introduced me to the hiring manager, and he was my sponsor So he was talking about me in rooms that I wasn't present. And
so you got the right mentor. So there are lots of people who got the wrong mentor also in the line.
And it's okay to have that conversation. If it's not working out, it takes a bit of confidence, and probably you need to have multiple conversations across multiple people. But if it's not working, you got to be able to say, hey, I don't think this is working. How do you feel? How do you feel? Am I not making them? Because if you're feeling it, they're probably feeling it too.
Yeah.
Like human, right? Like we've got sixth sense, in a way. Like if it's not working out, both parties know it.
Yeah.
You just need to have a conversation. And then so with coach, coach is another one, right? Like I've got access to executive coach, and I've had access to executive coaches in the last few years. And that's interesting. Coach is somebody who talks to you. Mentor is somebody who talks with you because they're in it. You've got a goal. Coach is somebody who's like, okay, what is it that you're trying to, they're asking you, they're talking to you, but they're trying to dig it out of you. They're not solving it for you.
Okay.
They're asking the right questions. So you are coming up with the answers.
So mentor will give you the solution also?
It's about working together. And they could share, like if you're going through a similar situation that they've been through 10 years ago or in their career, they'd be like, hey, I see where you're going with that. And you know what? I had a similar situation. I did that. Not giving you a solution, but hey, that's how I navigated that. What do you think? And you could choose to go that way, or you could say, that's interesting. I never thought about that. Maybe I'll do that, but maybe I'll do something else here, So that's mentor,
Okay.
like bringing into that experience and expertise. Coaches is like, okay, tell me what you're dealing with, but let's get you to start thinking about how to get there, because it's your decision and you're expanding. But they're really good at asking questions, so you think about things you may not have thought about before. And it's a more holistic thing. Coach could be not just a specific goal focus, whereas mentor, you've got mentor for financial wealth, for example, or CISO or something else. Coach is like overall, here's something that I'm dealing with. And then they're like, oh, how is it impacting you? What do you think you could do better? Or what's not working?
Okay. So in cyber security, how can we get the good mentor in cyber security?
I think
the person should be from that field. We need to get the mentor, or it should be all around.
Like I said, you can have multiple mentors, right? I take music classes, right? I take vocal classes. I've been doing that for 10 years. And that's something that I started as a hobby. Saturday I go, not just Saturday, I'm here this Saturday in Nepal. I take classes in Australia. But my teacher is a retired music teacher, and she used to go to schools and teach teachers. So she would pick songs for me, and while it's to सुरुमा म गर्दा त oh my god, bathroom singer, हामी सबैजना bathroom singer हो नि त. मलाई अनुसार जस्तो लाग्यो नि आफ्नो recording सुन्यो है, oh my god, this is really bad. I'm pretty bad. I'm shit at this, right? Sorry, pardon my French. तर हुन्छ नि 2-3 महिनापछि हामीले फेरि त्यही song revisit गर्दा, gosh, I'm so much better. I don't know. I think she has a magic wand, right? Like, गरेर 2 महिनापछि I'm so much better. And the thing is, she prepares, and she is also a mentor, because, when I do podcast, I run it past her. She is not in technology, but I get her feedback, and she goes, Barsha, I understood what you were saying, because my whole intention of my podcast, even if I'm talking technically, so that it's so simple that my 5-year-old can understand. My music teacher can understand, right? A retired music teacher. So she goes, and then what she says, you ran out of breath. You have such a long sentence, you ran out of breath. Think about the whole phrase, because that's what you do when you sing. So she is a mentor for me when I run my podcast. She's a mentor when I'm preparing to do a presentation in front of the 150 people. I say, hey, this is what I'm going to present. I like this story. I see what you're going through. Take pauses,
But sometimes when you find someone good mentor, right? So for 2-3 years, there will be a good discussion. You will get a good thoughts, right?
Yeah.
But after certain time, you feel that this person is not good.
Yeah, because you've matured. Yeah. I think, and I think
this is why everyone.
Yeah, so mentoring, the mentoring that I do, is part of the university program. It's a 4-5 months program, and you spend 20-25 hours, and so that's mentoring. I would recommend to have a structure, right, to make the most out of it. Maybe start with a 3 months thing. Let's put together 3 months. Here's what I want to work for, or maybe 6 months. And then you become friends. And mentoring is two-way. Because they're a mentor for you now doesn't mean only they contribute. Maybe you contribute. Maybe over time you're like, hey, I'm going through this. And I know you're going through this. Would this help? It's always two-way, because even though I've been in the industry and I mentor, my experience in mentoring has led me to a leadership role, because I did 10 years of mentoring people from different backgrounds, different expertise, different nationalities. So I know how to deal with them. My active listening skills, working with them on their goal, not forcing my goal onto them, because it's not about me. So a very, very good point, very good question, right? I think have specific structure and goal in mind. Maybe after a year, you finish that mentoring and become friends. And then maybe, 2 years down the line, you go, actually, I want to pick your brain on something else. Or maybe after 1 year, you go, now I want to be better at the other thing. Find another mentor.
As the age grows, our thinking also changes, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So for that, we need to have a certain phase-wise type of mentor in the life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's great to know. And so for the leadership path, right, in cybersecurity, how do you suggest, means for the freshers who want to do the career in cybersecurity, what should be the path, right?
Yeah.
From the junior level to the higher management.
Yeah.
How should you step?
Yeah. I think, leadership is, like I said, you can be a leader in your own right at whatever level, and you get things done and you get noticed and you move. And you can be an individual contributor and be a leader, or management level. And I think, two things I would ask is like, what is your leadership philosophy? Why do you want to become a leader? And then I think, working intentionally to grow your brand to get to that point. I think there are two things, because we all have a brand, but how are you intentionally growing that? So you're telling the whole wide world that you are who you want to be. And I think that's important, that messaging. I think, as we finish the conversation, I think I would want to leave the audience with a recommendation, right? One of my mentors, Rajiv, in my existing organization, recommended me a book called The Go-Giver, right? These days, in this day and age, we're like, become a go-getter, you go get, right? But I think leadership is about giving. I exist as a leader in my team, so my team is successful. Like, my first thing is to win the hearts and minds of my team. My leadership philosophy is servant leadership. I exist to serve, right? I think that Go-Giver book is something that I would recommend, because it is about giving without a sense of expectation. And then when everything comes around, because of course comes around, be willing and open to receive.
So servant leader is more about the commanding, right? So you command someone, you order someone.
Oh, no. Sorry, right? That's no. It is not. So it's not like other people serving you. No. So I know, sorry, yeah, that it's interesting how that come over. No. So servant leadership is you are serving the team. You are the servant. It's not like you're commanding other servant. It's the other way around. The leader is the servant, and you exist to serve. You exist to elevate your team. You are there to take the roadblocks away, and you are there to elevate your team and make them successful. And when you make each of your team members successful, you are, as a byproduct, successful. But it is not about you. It is about the team. That is servant leadership. It's not like you're making service. You are serving your team.
Yeah. Mostly giving the suggestion, right? Yeah. And mostly it should be fearful, right? Because when there is a fear, just like you are in a leadership position, you are a senior, right? And when your junior will be fear of you, then they can't ask.
Correct. Yeah, it is about
mostly friendly nature. So
that's a fantastic point. I think probably psychological safety is the right word. Like, you should be able to be who you are, and if your leader allows that space where you might be having trouble at home, like you're a really good operator, you're successful, you give it 100% every day. 1 week you're not. you should be able to have that conversation going, hey, I'm dealing with this. And you know your leader will back you up. They wouldn't judge you just because some circumstances might have changed. So yeah, there's no space for fear. There shouldn't be any space for fear. It should be all about psychological safety. And I think as a leader, you need to be able to create.
Yeah. And as well as about the mental block, right? So means not being too much of emotional, right?
Yeah.
And there is a mental blockage, right? Means you do lots of work, you get frustrated, and you be happy of the mental block.
Yeah.
So means it should run smoothly.
I think it's also, different people are driven by different motivations. Some people like challenging tasks. Other people like status quo. Like I'm comfortable with what I'm doing and I'm okay for now. And then maybe tomorrow they'll change their mind. Other people like, I want to do more challenging tasks. So as a leader, you need to be able to go, okay, well, is this challenging enough? What else can I give you, right? So I think working with each individual is very important, not putting anybody in a set, defined rule, because everybody is different. And so if somebody's going through that mental block, why? And you need to be able to have that conversation as a leader and encouraged for that to be taken away.
Okay. So I want to ask about your organization structure, means at Zscaler. How is the leadership there? Means moreover, how is the company structure?
Yeah. So, it's a NASDAQ listed public company, right? We have CEO Jay Chaudhary. He's of, Indian heritage, and he was born in a remote village in the Himalayas, right? And he had a very humble upbringing. Like there was no electricity, like he had to walk miles to go to school. And this is his fifth company, right? So he's the CEO, and then obviously there's board of directors because it's a public company. You have to answer to the market, and the board of directors are making sure you're doing the right thing. There's shareholders, you're doing the right things by the shareholders. You're getting, giving back to the shareholders, and then there could be different CXOs reporting into the CEO. So financial, legal, marketing, revenue. So I would report into the chief revenue officer, Mike Rich's organization, where sales is revenue generating, sales, pre-sales. So I would be part of that structure, and 4 or 5 levels up would go to the CEO. So, and then each organization, each business unit would have that, right? And so, for example, product team might have, at the end of it, maybe a software coding person. Customer success could have somebody, an engineer, looking after customers, right? Marketing, an intern could be in the marketing, or it could be product marketing. So there's so many ways. And then you could be in marketing, or you could be in engineering, and then you go, you know what, I like marketing. I want to do product marketing, or I want to just go marketing. If you are in a technology company, you could bring that technology experience and do marketing, right? Because you're talking to the technical technology audience. So there's a lot of, I hope that answered you the organizational structure, but I also wanted to touch around how different careers could be created, in that environment as well.
Yeah. So just like if a freshers want to start, right? So how he or should he start in the cybersecurity? So So
I think looking at company profiles, who do you want to work for? I think a lot of things are cloud based now. Even if you're working in network security, you've got applications in the cloud, you've got users not in the office, right? So I think I would recommend maybe start with a cloud certification, right? I did a Google one. And there's a few, like CISP, like CISP sort of thing, CEH, maybe going to do that cybersecurity sort of coursework. I would also recommend, a lot of people I know who start with software engineering operate at application level. And when you talk about cybersecurity, you're dealing still with networking. Security as well.
So it should be application layer also.
Application layer also, but application people like, coders and software engineers who may not be exposed to networking, like, zero trust, it's replacing VPNs, right? Replacing that network-centric architecture. I think it's worthwhile to spend a little bit of time understanding IPs. How are they constructed? How does network work? Just because you're more aware then, and it kind of, it's part of the bigger picture, and you're putting puzzle pieces together.
As we are doing the podcast, right? I think it's been more than 1 hour. we have only the 2 segment, right? So that we will wrap up. So as you are into the STEAM, right? So so how do you suggest the girls to come on the cybersecurity path, right?
Yeah.
And how do you see the scenario of IT in the STEAM? So can you say something? Yeah.
Absolutely. I think there's not enough females in IT, right? When I was in Pujo campus, 48 जनामा 47 जनामा हामी 7 जना केटी थियौँ हैन त्यो चाहिँ इलेक्ट्रोनिक्समा भयो मेकानिकलमा 2 जना केटी थियो 100 out of 100 students, and I think one dropped out, only one passed, one graduated. And civils the same. I think there's not many females in engineering and IT generally. And then I went to Australia. I'm like, oh, first world country, it's similar. It's even worse, and it hasn't improved. So I think
so when you went there was no,
there was still
not
10%,
Yeah.
10-15% of women in IT in my, when I did masters. No different. Whether you're a developing country, it's like, that's why, we do the podcast. We talk about it because, and growing up, Nepal ma पहिला हुँदाखेरि हाम्रो literacy rate about 10% थियो त्यति बेला 20-30 वर्ष अगाडि अब अहिले a lot of people are educated. I think education makes a massive difference. I think exposure in school around science and technology and encouraging like families, हामीहरू हाम्रो niece nephews-हरूसँग कुरा गर्दा पनि हुन्छ नि भान्जा भान्जी भदैनीहरूसँग कुरा गर्दा नि tell them it's possible. Don't just say, oh, केटीले nursing गर्नुपर्छ गर्नुपर्छ सबैले गर्नुपर्छ architecture गरौँ हैन तर engineering is also an option. I think we need to plant that seed from very early on. And त्यसपछि engineering गयो त्यसपछि अर्को कुरा चाहिँ job गर्यो हैन तर job पाउनु मात्रै हैन, how are we helping them retain? Right? Organizations are going out of their way to see how to retain the female sort of leadership, female participation in STEM. And that's a massive thing. किनकि केटीहरू गयो बच्चा हुन्छ बिहा हुन्छ अब हुन्छ नि depending on where you're from, responsibilities are different. And so how do you help them stay in the industry? Because it's an easier option to say, no, I'm just gonna sit at home or I'm just gonna be an admin or whatever, right? And there's nothing wrong with any job. But if you're interested and if you want to follow, I think there's got to be right kind of support. And I think we have a long way to go still.
Yeah, it has changed. So in Nepal also, if there are events, so we will see the participation of girls.
It's actually really good to see so many females right now. That like I said, the Google developer पनि प्रियङ्का चाहिँ मसँग मैले प्रेजेन्ट गरेँ उहाँले प्रेजेन्ट गर्नुभयो होइन प्यानलमा पनि अर्को एकजना हुनुहुन्थ्यो. It's amazing. It's like when I was growing up, I didn't see that, right? So like not a lot of males doing high profile jobs in IT because IT was just coming up, and females very rarely, right? And so I think it's exposing them to what's possible.
Yeah, and most are interested to join BSc IT, right?
Yeah.
CSC IT, BIT, so those type of course.
Yeah.
Okay, so good to know that. And so we haven't talked about this data breaching, right? And ransomware. So can you say something about the last part, as that we can conclude?
Okay. I think, we started when we talked about zero trust or data. I think data is the currency today, right? Like your crown jewel is your data. If you lose it, you're done. Like a bank loses it or an ISP loses it, your reputation is gone. Customers don't trust you. Your partners don't trust you. They're going to find your contract ends. They're going to find somebody else, right? So I think data breaches, threat actors trying to get into your organization, I think you got to have the right kind of measures in place as an organization, as a CISO, as a CXO in your organization, as an employee, right? Are we doing the right thing? Are we copying and pasting from, our corporate Google to our private Google or shared drive, right? I think there's a level of responsibility at each level. From an organizational point of view, let's look at it as cybersecurity is a multi-layered, multifaceted space. So looking at how do we protect all of that, and then ransomware also can be prevented, right? If you've got the right measures, if you're tracking the data flow, where is it going? Where is it sitting? Data in motion, how is it being transferred? Is there points where that can be intercepted? Where is it sitting? And then, education of your employees, because layer 8 can be problems if they're not rightly educated. Like if they use the same username and password, and if you're at an office and you've left your laptop on internet and it's logged in, like if somebody comes in as a, even as you're in the office and somebody comes in, a plumber, and they're just going around, like, are you going and saying, hey, why are you here? It's not just about getting into the system. It's like you can visibly see some things as well. You can, like, it might not be a plumber, it might not be an electrician, it might be a competitor, like it could be anything, right? But being aware of what's at risk in this, generally your data, and how do you prevent that from a physical layer to a logical to at different levels. And I think everybody in an organization has a role to play to protect ourselves.
Okay. And one thing we have missed about that was Sam. So
OWASP Top 10. Yeah. OWASP Top 10 is, a framework towards more secure coding, right? So web applications, and they list top 10, various attack vulnerabilities sort of thing. And so if you're working towards a security model in your organization, especially coding web application, I think it provides a framework to see where to look at. How do you rank across those 10 vectors, like cross-site scripting, for example, right? It's been on the OS top 10 forever. It's not on top first. It was top 1 for a very long time. I think the latest 2023 or 2022 is like it's gone to third, but it's always there because if somebody adds a little bit of a code and it goes to a user and you're actually collecting user, as an organization, is your website vulnerable to cross-site scripting? Because then you're losing data, right? So, and then there's a broken authentication, vulnerabilities, like difference, it goes and touches across different CVEs. I think it's a very good place to start at what the top 10 risk profiles can be and how can you make sure that you've ticked those in your organization, right?
So this means whoever is starting the career on cybersecurity, they should know about this or something.
I think so. I think if you're going for cybersecurity role, I would imagine you would get asked around that and because I've only talked about cross-site scripting, broken authentication, but you'd probably be good to know all of those 10 sort of types, risks and be able to say what are those risks and how do you mitigate that, right? And what are risks associated with each of those items as well. So, and as in an organization, if you're and they come in different roles, like if you're an IT manager, if you're a CISO, if you're a security officer, you would probably know that as well, right? So if you're applying for those roles, I would think you'd want to be across that.
Yeah, and they might see the AI also, cybersecurity in AI, right? How can it be implemented? So
I think AI, ML. Me having worked working at Zscaler, worked at Checkpoint and Akuma and everybody, right? Like there's a massive threat intelligence platform because that's how you protect. Like if I see, or if an organization like a Zscaler and Akuma sees a zero-day vulnerability in East Europe, I'm protecting a customer in India or Nepal because I've seen it. I've created a sandbox environment, looked at it, it looks new, and so I've figured it out. There's no existing signature for it, so I can't block it. So I've created it, and then I've, and that is the power of AI and ML platform. I think AI, really artificial, like machine learning, probably a long way to go, but the platform around, the data and how we extract data from there is probably there. And that's why I said, it depends on how much data there is in your platform. Like, for example, Zscaler, we have 300 billion plus transactions happening every day. That is good data, right? And because we see SSL inspection, we look at the packet, open it, what's going in. Is it good data? We look at it, and if it's not, we block it, right? And we see what kind of data that is. So that's the power of AI and ML. And and as an organization, you can create your own platform, as we talked about, but how much data there is and how much intel you can get. Or a lot of organizations actually buy threat intel data, right? So Zscaler would, like CrowdStrike, Okta, we would work with those organizations and do knowledge sharing. Because if they've seen something, they will share with us. It's, a lot of like banks would buy those services from somebody else who has that access. And so I think massive contribution from
So
AI ML sort of platform, but you got to have the right kind of data to be able to understand and.
So here also the new roles will come, right?
This massive job opportunity.
So in the AI, what I have seen is that mostly AI is just umbrella. So AI has the ML, machine learning, generative AI, deep learning, right?
Yeah.
And morely they are based on the prediction and generation, right? So generative AI is generation. ML is more type of prediction.
Yeah.
So if any new job can come on the cybersecurity, more on the predicting side, right?
Yeah.
Means finding some Trojan or vulnerability testing, those type of things.
Yeah.
That news of my.
I think AI ML we talk about a lot. It's been used, but the generative, the prediction bit of thing, and the the machine learning, I don't think we are where we can be, because that's like we feed the data and it's extraction, but it's not gotten to a point where they. And I go, okay, I've seen this. Now here's a new thing that can come up. Like, we're not there yet. That's a little while away. But you need a rich set of data to be able to extract, that sort of pattern recognition sort of thing, right? Yeah.
Okay. And how do you see the scope of cybersecurity in Nepal?
Amazing. Like, I'm meeting some of the partners here. In this time in Nepal, I'm meeting some partners. We're looking to look at Zscaler being in Nepal. Our neighboring country, India. We've got massive Zscaler deployment in government organizations, in banks, and all of that. And you can do a quick research and you're able to find some of those referenceable customers. So it's I think not just the Zscaler, but I think because we're dealing with everyday data, your banking data, the number of apps we use, the tap and pay sort of thing. Anything is a point of, potential hack, which means what are we doing to protect that? I'm sure lots of organizations are doing a lot of that because, we're using apps to do banking and there is a level of protection. But then, as I said, if the bad actors are learning new ways to attack you, we got to be, at the forefront and be a few steps ahead before they catch on. So, massive opportunity for huge potential. I think cybersecurity is a big space, and it's only going to grow.
Yeah. So in AI also there is a ethical AI.
Ethical hacking.
Yeah. So ethical AI. So cybersecurity context might come here.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the out of topics, right? Right now the Nepal challenge is right here. Every student wants to go abroad.
Yeah.
And you have also studied abroad and you are living in Australia, right? And Miss, what do you suggest the young generation, right, to do something in Nepal, or it is going good to study abroad or study here? So, what is your thought on that? Yeah.
Yeah. Look, मेरो केसमा मैले पुल्चोकमा पढेँ, अनि I think at that time there wasn't a lot of Master of Engineering sort of degrees. Like there was Master of Science, BSc, MSc sort of thing, अनि I wanted to, अनि नेपालमै बसेको भए कि मैले काम गर्नुपर्ने थियो त्यति बेला चाहिँ एकदमै धेरै अपर्यो एनटिसी हुने भयो एनसेल थियो हैन म कोडिङ नभएको भएर you had to look for telecommunications or there were not a lot of opportunities. I mean, having said that, some of my friends are in NTC, from मेरो ब्याचको अहिले मेरो ब्याचको कतिजना साथीहरूले स्टार्टअप्स खोल्नु भएको छ. They've sold it on to their second or third startups. They were doing amazing things. I think there's a lot of potential in Nepal market. I think it's a big market where you can be as innovative as you want to be. I think there's a demand for it. किनकि as an individual हामीले कतिवटा app consume गर्छौँ. We want more, and internetले गर्दाखेरि everybody in Nepal knows what goes on in America, Australia, everywhere else. So, and you want that consumption of digital consumption as well, right? So I think there's a really big market, and if you can tap into those services, मेरो कतिजना साथीहरू पुल्चोकमा पढेको साथीहरू यहीँ बसेर बिजनेस गर्नुभयो, स्टार्टअप गर्नुभयो, पेसेन्ट भयो. कति साथीहरू म एकजना साथीसँग भेट्दैछु, उहाँ जर्मनीबाट मास्टर्स गरेर आउनुभयो, यही फेरि अहिले कन्सल्टेन्सी खोलिरहनु भएको छ, बाबुहरूसँग म भेट्दैछु होइन नेक्स्ट मन्थ.
So you are planning to do, are you planning to do something here in Nepal?
Me personally, look, I don't have a startup bone in me. मेरो फ्यामिलीमा कहिले पनि कसैले बिजनेस गर्नु भएन, त्यही भएर I'm not confident होइन. तर I admire people, and maybe I will one day. I'll never say no. हुन्छ नि मेरो किनकि अहिलेसम्मको career and trajectory हेर्दाखेरि I've done new things every 3-4 years. I'm doing something new, and the startup is not something that I've thought about. But who knows? Maybe.
Yes, it could be.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was a nice conversation. Thank you so much for coming here, right? And thank you so much for Nepal Internet Foundation for the studio venue also. Today we mainly talk about the leadership qualities in the cybersecurity. So what should be the path? Barsha ji has explained that one, and as well as about some OSAP 10 features, and about the data breaching, those type of things. Organization point of view, how should we see as safe if we go on the cybersecurity part, and about her own personal journey, about her life experience from Pulchok to Australia. So she has talked. Thank you so much for the time, and we look forward to do more series on the digital talk. Thank you so much for the time.
Thank you so much, Shevai, and thank you to the crew. I very much appreciate it.
Thank you.